The start of Chapter 5 Season 3 has seen some most unusual pro activity that we've ever seen in Fortnite comp. 5 times EU FNCS winner Tayson has now swapped regions and is playing with the Yomzo for this FNCS. As well as Pink, who won the first 2 FNCS weeks last season with Vico, has completely split from his duo and is now playing with the global champ Mero on NA. As well as Mongol and Savage, after not making EU Grands, have completely swapped to NA, hoping to have a better chance of qualifying for globals. However, the most interesting team to come out of this, in my opinion, is Clix and Veno. Both of these guys have had a disappointing previous FNCS, and it all comes down to this last season if they want to qualify. So what is the reason why these EU pros like Veno are actually moving to NA? Well, this season is all based on the qualify spots available. On EU, there is 10 spots, as well as on NA, there is 10 spots as well. You also have to factor in that the pros who are already qualified on NA, like Peterbot and Poyo, Reet and Ritual, Cooper, Canada, Acorn and Cold, are very likely to place inside that top 10 again because they're so consistent. So this means that Clix and Veno this season need to aim for a top 14 placement at the minimum to make it to the Global Championships end of year. So in this video, I'm going to go through and rank all aspects of Clix and Veno's gameplay together. I'm going to be seeing how likely they are to actually win FNCS, as well as what are the chances they can even make top 14, since it's going to be so challenging this season. Both of these guys need a massive turnaround if they want to make it to globals, and I'm going to be seeing exactly what's holding them back and break it down for you guys. Let's get straight into this. First things first for these guys, early game and their initial off-spawn plan. They've completely swapped up and they're now landing over at Sandy Steps. I actually quite like this spot. I think it's sort of a top 10 spot on the map at the moment. The one issue that they're going to have is that this spot tends to get multiple conned in grand finals. It's very rare that you're going to get this entire spot to yourselves, and especially now it's lost a little bit of chest. It's not as good as before. I think it's fairly likely that they do get contested. However, I think this actually plays into their strengths. Both of these guys are very good at off-spawn fighting. Veno, in my opinion, is one of the best off-spawn fighters in the world, and he has been for a very long time. So I personally don't think there's going to be too many challenges with this initial early game drop. Personally, I really like the choice to land at Sandy Steps, and I also think it plays into Clix and Veno's strength as a duo extremely well. The main reason being that it's a very good spot to go ahead and be aggressive from. The main reason for this is the fact that there's a forecast tower right nearby, which is their main part of their game plan this season. These guys go for forecast every single game, and this forecast tower in particular spawns in the most out of any in the game. It spawns in 80% of the games. So roughly in the grand finals, these guys are going to get this 9 or 10 games at least. There's also a nearby bunker, which is definitely helpful if you want to be aggressive and be fighting with Surge, and I definitely think this plays into the advantage of Clix and Veno, where they're a little bit more aggressive for going for Surge. One thing though, unless you're able to claim a forecast tower every single game of a grand finals, like Reet and Ritual did last season, it can become extremely grief, and there's a high chance that you can just throw away games in the grands if you're not able to consistently win that fight. Another issue as well, if you keep on doing the same game plan every single game, is that teams wise up to it in grand finals and you can get easily punished like they did this game. So for early game, I'm going to give Clix and Veno's spot with Sandy Steps an A rating. It's definitely not one of the best spots on the map, like Redline Rig, which is where Peterbot and Poyo are landing, or Brutal Beachhead, where Acorn and Cold are going. However, it is still an extremely good spot, and it plays into their strengths as a duo very nicely. I definitely think these guys have got a lot of potential with this early game if they can get it on consistently. Next, let's take a look at how good Clix and Veno are at fighting, as well as fighting together. I think this is going to be a key part to the success this season, how quickly they're able to win some mid-game fights for Surge, since this is a thing that Epic Well and Clix definitely struggled with last season, and it cost them quite a few games in finals. Veno joining Clix as in terms of fighting ability is a massive upgrade from Epic Well. Veno is one of the best fighters on EU, and he's extremely good at ending a fight very quickly. However, the key thing that I think these guys slightly lack so far, since they've only played a few tournaments, is their actual chemistry with fighting. It seems a lot of times Veno is going a little bit too quick for Clix to keep up, and Clix isn't quite used to somebody setting the tempo in a fight. However, I would still give these guys an A-star rating for fighting ability as a duo. This fight right here is a perfect example of what I mean in terms of these guys' fighting abilities. They're both very good at setting up separate angles, being able to get a beam onto a team, as well as being individually able to close out the fight extremely quickly. Also, a key thing to mention as well is that these new item abilities actually play into these guys' strengths, both being really strong mechanically, as well as their ability to survive difficult situations. It's absolutely perfect for them. Little plays like this, just getting a 3-1 and a quick refresh mid-game, are absolutely crucial, and a lot of teams don't have that ability in stat lobbies. As you can see right here from this example, there's definitely quite a few moments where Veno and Clix aren't on the same page when it comes to fighting. Right here, they're getting WQ'd by Peterbot and Poyo, and instead of trying to fight back as a duo, they both decide to just disengage as solos. They're nowhere near playing each other, and there's absolutely no synergy between what they're doing during these fights. We're not just trying to predict how good these guys do in qualifiers and cash cups and things like that. We're looking at their grand finals placements, and these are the teams they're going to be fighting in grand finals. However, I'm still pretty confident in giving these guys an A-star rating in fighting, but they're definitely not near the best in the region. If you guys are looking to do better at FNCS this upcoming week, then go check out FNCS Superstars. There's going to be over 20 hours of coaching from myself, other pro coaches like Sven, Razru, as well as Zycoma, and loads of pros like Reet, Aviv, Muzz, and Batman Booga are all going to be hosting sessions. You're basically going to get non-stop coaching the entire way through this FNCS for 10 days straight, and it's going to drastically improve your placements and PR just 2 weeks. Go check it out down below, only $25, and you get a free FNCS masterclass when you sign up. Next up, let's take a look at how strong these guys are in terms of mid-game rotations and storm surge. The key aspect of how good their mid-game rotations are going to be is depending on whether how consistently they can get the forecast tower or not. If they're able to get it consistently in a grand finals lobby, I think there's a really high chance that these guys will be stacked going endgame every single game. The key issue I see a lot of teams messing up when it comes to using forecast is trying to play the game too complicated. They're playing one step ahead of everybody else, and that means that they tend to be below on surge, or they put themselves in awkward positions. However, so far from watching Clix and Veno, I see them doing a lot of really smart things, like tanking Storm to use a pad to land exactly where the 7th zone is going to pull, like they do here, claiming early power positions, as well as always being really good on storm surge. Also, the main factor that's going to help these guys out mid-game is landing towards the south-hand side of the map. This means they've got access to a load of cactus they can replenish their shields with and trade surge with if needed, as well as a lot of rotations such as the nitro tunnels they can use to get around and get out storm after they storm tank. Overall, for mid games and surge, I'm going to give these guys a B rating. I would like to rate them higher. However, since this is their first time, playing without a strict IGL, especially for Veno, somebody like a Tayson, somebody like a Queasy, somebody like an Aqua that calls all of those decisive things during mid games, I'm not sure how these guys are going to stick up. Of course, they've got a lot of things going for them, like their fighting ability to help them get kills and get them above surge, as well as having forecast tower is definitely going to be helpful. However, I'm still not entirely convinced, and I'm only going to give them a B rating in this area. Next up, let's take a look at refreshes. Refreshes are the most important parts of the game. No matter how good your mid-game plan is, as well as your game plan end-game, if you're not able to find refreshes at the crucial points, you're never going to have that much success. And this is where I think Veno and Clix have a lot to work on. They're both individually really good at finding a refresh, getting a lot of damage, getting it the kill out of nowhere. However, the issue is when they're playing together, they tend to sort of tread on each other's toes when it comes to getting refreshes. One of them will be doing the edit while the other one's confirming it, and it just leads to messy situations where they take a lot of damage in unnecessary spots. On the off chances they do get a refresh together, things like this tend to happen, where Veno jumps in, gets a nice refresh with a fist, and he ends up completely split from Clix afterwards, and these guys aren't quite on the same page with what they're doing. And the issue with that is you run into a good team like right here, Reet and Ritual running out on each other's hands, they're going to take you out 9 times out of 10 in that situation, no matter how good you are individually finding a refresh. Overall, I'm going to give these guys a B rating. They definitely are good at finding refreshes, but it's more so a case of how good they can be at finding those refreshes as a duo and having success with that playstyle.
Missing him. 100, 90 white.
Next up, we've got Endgames, and this is where I think Clix and Veno actually struggle the most, and this is probably the worst part of their game overall. The main reason for this is it doesn't seem like they've got a full grasp of the meta. They tend to just fist up on front side randomly and then start tarping a lot. There's not really a set play style or game plan that they've got that they execute on, and it suits both of their strengths. They are very good at getting refreshes, like I just mentioned. However, I think these endgames this season really don't play to their strengths, and they haven't got a full grasp of what they want to do or how they want to do it. I will mention they do have a couple nice strategies they're using. Like right here, they go ahead and tank Storm by playing the Nuka-Colas together, which is a pretty good strat, so they don't get jumped in on a zone swap. They also do a couple nice things like mirroring underneath high ground, but there's a couple just too many random plays, like claiming low at the wrong times. The endgames are a little bit messy, going for high to incorrect times, and this is why I'm going to give them a C rating. Definitely a lot of room for improvement here, and this is one of their aspects that if they improve it and they get up to a B or an A rating, this can easily take them into a top 5 placement in FNCS, just fixing this alone.
Go on your own tile, Jacob.
Get. I might die, so he's killing me, bro.
So lastly, I want to go ahead and rank in some extra factors that might make an impact on Clix and Veno's grand finals performance this season. The first one is, of course, BloodX, who's going to be working with them as a coach. I think Bloodx is a major asset to any team he works with. You can pretty much see the improvement from Clix, as well as he's worked with Veno in the past when he won 6 out of 12 games in Grands, as well as helped him a lot recently as well. Next up is going to be the solo clutch factor, and I think this is probably the most deciding factor in whether this duo is going to get, you know, just a top 20 placement when they don't get play the best versus getting a top 5. Is going to come down to solo clutches. And the real thing that Veno and Clix have got going for them in this duo is the fact that both of them are world-class solo clutches. You've seen it before with Clix in last season's Grands, as well as in Veno in pretty much every single Grands he's played. He always pulls an insane solo clutch out of the bag, and both of these guys are unbelievably good at doing so. It might seem like a very minor thing, but just the ability to go from, you know, a top 10 position into a top 5 by a cheeky solo clutch is an insane amount of points, and these guys are able to do it consistently. So even though their refreshes and their endgames aren't the best, even if one of them goes down, the other one is still capable of clutching an insane amount every single game. And this is where I'm going to give these guys an A-star rating in terms of how good they are at solo clutching and these extra factors. So in summary, where do I think Clix and Veno can actually place this season? I think there's a really high likelihood, like 95+% chance that these guys make it to the global championships. They only really need a top 14 or a top 12 to guarantee their qual there. And I think these guys are definitely capable of it based on what I've seen so far, and especially their solo clutch factor and their fighting abilities. The key things that are going to be holding them back from actually winning an FNCS compared to your teams like Peterborough and Poyo, or even your Acorn and Colds, is the fact that their drop spot isn't quite the best compared to these teams, as well as they're just not that synced up endgame, and they don't have that playstyle worked out. Grand Finals is happening in about a month time from this video, so they might have sorted some things out, but this is just sort of an early look onto what these guys' potential is this season, and let me know down in the comments what you think the chances are these guys can win FNCS or even qualify.